Yeah, so as I was saying, the aim of today is really to share with you some tips, basically, to deal with media, because you are spokesperson or you are future spokesperson of your organization, of your association, of your center of research, etc. So our job in Tilder is to advise leaders of public organization, leaders of private organization, in terms of developing corporate communication strategy, of course, in terms of creating, managing, and transforming content for them. It could be like a report, it could be media intervention, it could be presence in forum, etc. And also developing internal and external communication. But our main job is really to ensure them to perform in the public era and in the media era. So media interviews, media experience in digital, in TV, in radio. Right now, I am in the studio we use to media train our clients, the leaders of, again, companies. It could be startup, it could be big French companies, it could be international companies. And we really worked close to the spokesperson. And in the world of today, the spokesperson are the executive, the first executive of companies, spokesperson, etc. And we really are specialized on advising them. We are partners of day-to-day life of a spokesperson, and media. Again, it's really a big deal for them, and we help them since 30 years now. So as I was saying, you are maybe yet leaders or spokesperson of your organization, or you happen to be, and or in your day or in your day-to-day life, sorry, you can be you can have the opportunity to express yourself or to confront with media. So again, we hope it will be helpful for you, and we will start to just remind you some or bring you some basic rules, and then we will go into some tips, some advice you can tackle when you are in a media intervention, or when you go on air with a journalist. So I will share you some slides. I don't want this to be too much academic, so you can interrupt me if you want. For sure, we will have some times at the end of the presentation. I don't want to spoil you guys, so I will just take voila. So you can interrupt me, but for sure we'll have some times at the end of the presentation to ask you that you can ask your question, and that we can have like a more direct conversation. So maybe the really first thing we have to remember, we can start with it. Sorry, it's what is a media interview, or maybe what is not. You have to, when you are calling a journalist for an interview, or when you're on a set, etc. You have to remember that an interview is not a banal conversation. It's not a free conversation. I mean, it's a question of opportunity. It's of course an opportunity for you guys, the interviewee, to share your key messages relating to your expertise, relating to what you are doing, with the commitment of your organization, and an opportunity for the journalist also to create attention, to do a nice and captive moment for his channel, for his radio or TV channel, and to catch interest of the different listeners of the interview. So it could be really simple to assess that, but it's important to keep this in mind, that it's not a free, meaning like a disinterest conversation. It always there is always an objective for you and for the journalist. So this is maybe the first thing to go into when we think of an interview opportunity.
Also, to reassure you, we wanted to stress two things. First, we definitely all know how to speak. As you previously said, you are all involved in different engagement related to the ocean protection. So you therefore know how to argue and to defend your point of view. And also, second is the second idea. Thanks to this commitment that you have, you all developed an expertise on the ocean protection subject, and you also may have ideas on how we could protect the ocean. So you all have a distinctive speech on the ocean protection that deserves and that is worth to be heard. But despite it all, there is a specific context that we have to keep in mind when we have a media interview, because this is a specific exercise, as said, which has its own rules. So, and we can summarize them with these four reasons. So first, the journalist knows what he wants to talk about because he well prepared his interview. He has questions he wants to ask you, and during this interview, the interview, he will always try to ask you the questions he had in mind. Then he controls the exercise, he masters it. It means that he knows exactly where he wants the interview to be driven, because he knows his audience, he knows what interests his listeners, and what kind of information will be interesting for them. Moreover, the journalistic format, especially on TV and on the radio, is particularly short. It means that you will quite never have 20 minutes to expose your and to share your messages. So you need to be really clear and efficient when you are sharing those messages. And then finally, the journalist is at home, meaning that the cameras and the studio and technicians all around, it doesn't now impress him anymore. But for you, it can be, and for all of us here, it can be really, really impressive. So this being said, we don't want to afraid you, but it is these are important parameters that you need to keep in mind when you are when you will have the opportunity to have a media interview.
Yeah, the point is that it's an unequal relation. That's why we put the great inequality, but it's true, it's not a 50-50 relation at the beginning, but you have some rules to help you to manage this kind of interview, and then it's like running, it's a training, but it's you cannot overcome the inequality of your situation, but you can easily manage to success your interview when you know those rules, and that's why we will try to do a little bit with you guys today. One of the main rule, maybe the golden rule of a media interview for us, and that's exactly what we said to the leaders we are advising. It's to start unlearning to answer a question. It could be a little bit surprising, but the fact is an interview is not at all a question-answer exercise. And it's really important to keep that in mind. It's a question-message exercise. It's not the same thing at all. When you come on a TV, on radio, on digital, when you speak on air with a journalist, it's always, and maybe if you have to remember one thing from this session, it's this: it's always to share a message with your audience. You don't go to a media, you don't speak to a media if you don't have a message to share, meaning a prepared message, a message you have worked with your teams, with your superiors, with your fellows, to make sure that this message is the one that will what will be enlightened by this interview. I don't know. Some of you say that they are working on research on elements on the ocean. If some of you are, are working on corals, etc. Of course, you will have your interest and your message, and this message is the thing that you have to work on, to fine tune and to deliver during the interview. It could be one message, it could be 2, 3, 4, but not that much, because as Hynd said, the journalistic format it's quite short. So you have to select 2, 3 main messages before the interview and to deliver it during the interview. If you have to, when you have to deliver your message, it's more efficient to deliver it at the right start of the interview. Don't wait the end of the interview to deliver your message, because you don't control the end of the interview. Sometimes the end of the interview is like the opening question. So maybe the journalist will be running at time at this moment. So don't write the end of the interview to share your message. I'm sure that some of you are thinking like, well, but if the question is not related, I will go to that right after. Also, because listeners are way more attentive at the beginning of an interview, it's proved. And because sometimes, as I said, the first question is the more open one, so you have the opportunity to deliver your message easier than after. So if you have to again remember of one thing, is this: deliver your message and prepare your message before an interview. Because again, a media interview is not a question answer exercise, it's a question message exercise. So we thought quite relevant to share with you a little video, an example of an interview on CBC News a few years ago, I think 8 years ago. Maybe I will just share it now in live. It's maybe the first minute. I think the sound will should be working. If there is an issue, don't hesitate to say. But I think it's working. And again, after I will try to maybe explain, to talk with you and to try to explain how the interview goes. And it's quite related to what I've just said about messages and the journalistic role, the journalistic mission in this kind of discussion. So yes, I will launch it now, and I will put my sound to the maximum.
Joining me now from Vancouver, one of the protesters, Sean Devlin. Beside him is Brigitte de Pape. She helped organize today's protest. You may remember her. She was a former Senate page who protested Stephen Harper holding up that famous Stop Harper sign in the Senate. Both of you, welcome to Power and Politics.
Hi, Evan.
Hi. Mr. Devlin, obviously lots of questions about a security breach today. How did you manage to sneak in through security to get that close to the Prime Minister?
I just wore my black dress shirt, my black pants, and I had a black apron on. And I knew I was supposed to be there to deliver a message. And when I showed up, people were treating me like I was supposed to be there too. So it actually felt really good.
But I mean, to be candid, were you essentially going as a wait staff, as a catering staff there, disguising yourself?
I don't know that it was a disguise. It did help me get in. So it was done on purpose, but I was really there to deliver a message on climate change.
Okay, I want to get to that message, but Brigitte de Pape, you've obviously done this before, and you were one of the organizers. Again, let's talk security first, and we'll talk about the message in a minute. From a security point of view, was the plan to disguise yourself or disguise these two protesters as wait staff or catering staff to get into the event, to get that close to the Prime Minister?
Yeah, I'm extremely inspired by what Sean and Shireen did, these amazing young people who took this bold action. And yeah, they wore the necessary garb to get into the hotel in order to protest Harper being here because of the Conservatives' complete inaction on climate change. hundreds of thousands of people are dying and being displaced because of climate change, especially in developing countries and in indigenous communities, and yet they're the least responsible for climate change. And despite this fact,
and I want to get to that, Brigitte. I will, and I'm going to ask you to clarify just quickly. When you say hundreds of thousands of people are dying of climate change, what do you mean by that?
So that's because of extreme weather events, like we saw with the typhoon in the Philippines. Tens of thousands of people died in the flooding. And we are also seeing how these extreme weather events are becoming more and more common. And this is because of human-induced climate change. And so when Harper is promoting this pipeline, it's very irresponsible, because we know that it would be transporting tar sands oil, which is emitting greenhouse gas emissions, which contribute to climate change.
Well, we can stop there. Why I'm showing you this video, because obviously I think you have all noticed that so just maybe just a few words of context. So I'm not sure, I don't know if you know this girl. So Brigitte de Pipe is she's an activist, a Canadian activist, climate change activist. She was known to break into parliament, to break into interview, to deliver a message. And this interview followed the intrusion during an interview with the Prime Minister of Canada at this moment, and she was protesting again the development of oil sands pipelines in Canada. And she was interviewing, as you saw, with another activist. Why I'm showing that? Because I think you've noticed that the journalist, when in the say before that a journalist work his question, of course he have his theme. He has the angle, and the angle was security, because I think the audience of CBC News wants to know how is it possible to approach a prime minister, how is it possible to break into a room, etc. The message of Brigitte is quite different. It's to warn people about the consequences of climate change. You see that the first question was on security, and the first answer was not an answer; it was a message of Brigitte to thanks those people who are acting to warn about the danger of climate change. And the journalist was quite disturbed by that, because he said, okay, I will go there after, but he asked himself a question on why are you saying that people are dying of climate change. So it was quite a success for Brigitte. Just this example to show you that, again, the exercise is not at all a question answer exercise. But having said that, I will not recommend you to not respond to a journalist, because you have to give him something. So this example is quite extreme. But you can, if you have like 2 minutes interview and you see that the journalist is not asking you the real question, or you cannot pass your message with his question, you can respond quite beside the point. Like you can say, okay, I will answer your question with a little trick like that. But first of all, let me tell you that, and then you still engage in this flow, but you are sure that you will deliver your message from the start or from the second question, but you are not waiting the end of the interview, or you are not waiting the journalist win the battle of theme, of message, of content. So again, it's quite an extreme example. I am not recommend you to do that with a journalist, but you have the opportunity. You always have the opportunity to deliver a message, and the thread of the interview is not like you can move it. You can take it for yourself and develop your idea based on one question, which is not initially really related to what you want to say, and it works. And I think it was a great example of to illustrate what we are saying right now. Oh. Maybe one other golden rule in.
I just want to check the chat. There is a dark screen.
Oh, sorry, I didn't want to interrupt. I can hear everyone, but I was just wondering if I'm the only one who doesn't see anything on your shared screen. Maybe it's my computer.
You haven't seen the interview, or
yeah, I did, but as soon as you stopped the video, it just went black.
just a black screen for everyone?
I think it comes from you, Mariana, because
okay, so sorry. I'll just try and fix it. Sorry. Apologies.
No problem. No, you're right. So now we have some it's another screen, another slide.
Okay, so let's go on. So as it has already been said, your media interview will not be considered as a success just because you've been able to show that you know a lot about the subject you were invited to talk about. The interview has to be prepared, and also the second tip is the second tip we can give you is to unlearn to be smart, meaning that when you are preparing your interview, your main goal must be how will I be able to hook the listener attention right from the start. As Geoffrey said, the most important thing is to right from the start share your messages, which is particularly difficult to get the attention of the listener and to keep it, whether you are interviewed on TV or on the radio, because the audience is never carefully listening to you. Most of them, they could be eating breakfast, or they could be stuck in traffic and thinking how they are going to make it to their workplace. So while you are preparing your messages, you have to keep in mind that these messages has to be sharp enough in order to catch their attention. And one tip we can give you to do so is to represent yourself, the average listener, as a 14-year-old who is brushing his teeth, meaning that first maybe the listener is quite young, so he may don't know about a lot about your subject. Maybe you will have you will need in the first the first message you will share to give some definitions about what you are talking about, to make sure everybody understands what is at stake. And then, as I just said, he's doing completely something else than religiously listening to you. So you need to get his attention by the words you will be using in your messages. So it's your main challenge when you formalize your messages.
And it's important because the risk are not, you will not but I mean, we have to relativize a little bit the media interview, because again, we don't want at all to afraid you. But the risk, if you don't have this in mind, the way that people are listening to you, the way that journalists think, is either you go notice during your interview, meaning like people will not get the main idea, the main message, and it will be a little bit useless. Or you can lose control because you want to go too fast, you want to say too much thing, etc., etc. So that's why it's important to keep those rules in mind before going to an interview. And I want to jump on what Hynd just said on the illustrated thing, the impact you can make with simple words and with simple message. It plays really a crucial role to bring your message to life. And helping those watching or listening you to visualize what you are saying. And there is a lot of powerful ways to do that. and the way the way to connect your audience and to create a real impact on what you are saying and to embody your messages. I was listening, I think, last week or the one before on France Inter on the radio, a scientist, maybe as you guys, a scientist from the Museum Natural History of Paris, who was talking about how we the still unknown biodiversity in ocean, especially in abysses. And for example, to illustrate her speech, she quotes one number. A number is a good way to illustrate a message, right? A number, a percent, etc. And she said that we only know 90% of the marine species yet, or something like that, 80 or 89, I don't remember. Okay, this is a way to illustrate a message, to pass your message with something tangible and this kind of images. But she said after something even more powerful in terms of image. She used a metaphor like we know more of the surface of the moon than on the surface of our bed of seabed. This kind of powerful image, metaphor, example really helps you to bring to life your message and to create impact to your listener and to these little boys or girls who is brushing its teeth. So this is the kind of illustrated message you have to work before. Okay, you take your message and say, oh, okay, what are the examples I can use? Of course, regarding your expertise, and how I can make them more impactful. Okay, some other rules, maybe a more obvious one, but we avoid the familiar road. But the other one is for me more interesting, especially for you guys, because you are living and you are working in a scientist universe, because the ocean question is of course related to a lot of technical things, and you have to find a way to not to be too abstract, especially with abstract vocabulary. The acronym, there is a lot of acronym such as like a lot of ecosystem, but in the ocean ecosystem, not too much scientist or word, or if you use scientist words, you have to explain them really simply and really clearly. So we avoid what we call in French le jargon scientifique, or the too technical words. That's why this challenge to be really clear, really illustrated, explain why the question most asked by a journalist, and we see that every training we made here, in every set we go with our clients for live interview. The most asked question is, yes, but concretely, or can you give us an example? The journalist needs those examples to have a good interview. So you give him a good example, a good illustration from your experience, from your knowledge. You will have a good interview, or you will have a message right and well explained. So this is important to keep in mind. So I take the example of the surface of the moon. I'm not sure that if it's the true, or if it's a little bit exaggerated. That leads me to give you some advice also on how you can tell the truth. Of course, I am not advising you to lie to your during your interview, but in terms of register, if I can imagine two extremes, one is the police report. You are telling your story really in a really cold way. You use a lot of example, lot of. You use too much maybe description, so you are not enough illustrated. You are not impactful in this kind of extreme. The other extreme is a fairy tale. You say that everybody is beautiful, that everybody is nice, that everything is okay, or the contrary, everything is worst, etc. But you are in the fairy tale way to express yourself, and it's not either the right tonality. You have to find quite a compromise between those two extremes, and you really have to find the captivating narrative tension, and by choosing again striking details, good example, and impacting example. It's not easy. It's something that you lean off interview after interview. You can make, but it's I found interesting to share this way of approaching how we can you can tell the truth.
So we gave you a lot of information about what your message should be, what it shouldn't be, and this slide summarizes let's say the good practices, because after this media training session, if there are maybe two main informations you need to keep in mind is first what Geoffrey said at the beginning of the presentation. The interview is a question message exercise, and then this slide that will help you to formalize clearly and efficiently messages. So keep in mind to do so the PCA acronym. Here, P stands for prepared. So of course, your message has to be meaningful. You don't need to mention a multitude of things. Thanks to your work, your preparation, with your teams, you will be able to prioritize maybe 3 to 4 main messages that you need to share with the specific audience of the media you will have an interview with. And then S stands for simple. As Geoffrey just said, you are part of the scientific ecosystem, so you are dealing with very complicated words or complicated scientific dynamics that not everybody can simply understand. So when you are formalizing your messages, pay attention to give definitions, and also to go straight to your point. To go straight to your point in order to avoid incomprehension, and moreover, I stands for illustrated. So in order to give to your message a great impact, you can mobilize images, examples, and figures. So the journalist can ask you more questions on to develop your idea. And so your message will have much more impact. And finally, emotional. So put some emotion. It can be you can put emotion in your message thanks to the examples. For instance, you will mobilize, because if they are related to your personal experience in your association with your teams, therefore you will have an impactful message.
Well, I think we have just 1 or 2 advice more to share with you, especially on maybe more on the posture, because we talk a lot about content and messages. But before that, and I think we are already done, I just want to make a little exercise with you guys. But I spoiled myself. I wanted to ask you to not think to a pink elephant right now, and to really focus everybody to not think, don't think of a pink elephant. And I will ask you to try it really stronger. What I was saying, I was trying doing that is that, of course, when I say that, everybody is thinking of a pink elephant, and hello, pink elephant. Okay, I'm not being crazy. I am just trying to show you that our brain are made in a such way that they don't handle very well the negation. Okay, we don't handle very well the negation. We Urban are really focused on the main idea, and here it's the pink elephant. It's our main idea. Okay, so when someone tells you to not do something, it will unconsciously retain the general idea without the negation. For example, if someone asks me, "Don't forget to buy bread," it will be less powerful that remember to buy bread. For matters or focus here, which is communication, media communication, it means that you really have, when you are in an interview, to drop the pink elephant. Okay, you stay at home. You have to tell the journalist in a positive way, in a direct way. You have to tell him what you want to do, not what you don't want to do. You have to tell him what you think, not what you don't think. It's just a question of terms, but it will be more powerful, and more direct that you use a direct sentence, positive formulation. Okay, so just maybe one or two more little advice, and we will give you the opportunity to ask your question, guys, of course.
So yes, some advices about your posture. So in order to mark the to mark the spirit of listeners, you can mobilize the three following tips. First of all, your energy, because of course, if you are able to show them how passionate you are about your subject, then it is the best way to prove to the listeners that this subject is worth to their attention. Then we talked a lot about it during this session, put some emotion. So it's not, of course, a representation on stage. So you don't need to dramatize too much or to be too joyful. Well, depending on the information you are invited to deliver during this interview, but you can put emotion in the words you are using, so your messages will be impactful. And finally, attitude. It's a stressful exercise for everybody, and I think if you feel stressed, I think it's a good thing because it will help you to be concentrated in order to deliver your messages, and also to use different tips we gave you. But also don't be too relaxed, because it can be misperceived, particularly on TV. And yes, so there is what we call the studio effect. That's why it's such important to prepare your messages, because as we said previously, the media format is very short. So you could be on the set, and the technicians are recording, and then you could completely forget what you wanted to talk about if you did not prepare very well your messages, meaning that you wrote them down, and you trained yourself to speak about them. So it's the best way to avoid the omission of an idea. And then secondly, as it is a very short format, if you have too much things to say, you could be forced to rush in order to deliver all of the messages you prepared, and then to increase your speech rate, and therefore it would be very complicated to understand what you are talking about. So as we said, if you have 3 to 4 main messages, it's enough. And then if the journalist is interested in what you are saying, you can go further with him, but just have 3-4 main ideas. It's enough.
And just in conclusion, again, we don't want you to think that it's an impossible exercise. It's not at all, and it's really okay and classic that there is some stress, some oppression, but even our clients, some of our clients are leader of like multinational company, or startup who are like everything in the press, etc. But they always like have a kind of oppression, and it's good. And I think you have an advantage because your subject is like a future. It's the ocean. I mean, the preservation of ocean, the preservation of biodiversity. It's something that we have to handle for the incoming years, for the future. We know that it's one of my convictions is one of of course the most important subject in the future to deal with, but it's also a subject that creates interest to journalists. I see that with the Centre National de la Mer. We saw that during the One Ocean Summit in France. It's a subject that journalists want to go deep into. So you have an advantage. You have like a really important subject. You are working in organizations that have like commitments which are like vital for people. So you are not selling shoe. Maybe I don't know, but you have like a game changer subject. So be proud of it, be confident of yourself, and just remember the 3 or 4 tips we gave you. And furthermore, the message thing, work your message, and everything will be great. So thank you a lot for your attention. I think we were a little bit longer than expected, but if you have some question, we are at your disposal.
Thank you. So, does anyone want? There is an hand raised. So, Marie-Morgane, you have a question.
Yes. Thank you so much for all the tips. It's very interesting. So, I have several questions. I will just ask one and see if other people wants to ask something. So, you mentioned that like the journalist usually knows their audience. They know who they're talking to, I mean, with the public behind them. But what if we don't know? So how do we, like if someone comes to us and we have no idea what kind of audience they're speaking to, so how do we adjust, and what would be like, do we need to be general, or like how would you deal with that? Or the opposite, like if we know that they're a very specialized audience, do we need to adjust our messages to that, or how to deal with this aspect?
It's a good question, and it's I would say it's better to know because in fact you in interview for a scientist review, it will be not the same that in interview for a YouTube channel of an influencer, or I don't know, but because of course on one you will have to vulgarize a little bit your speech, and the other one you can be more technical. So it's better if you know the audience. It's better for sure. And if you have a doubt or if it's not that clear, it's better to again focus on simple things. Ensure that your message is clear. Don't use too much technical things because you can lose some people. And today the content is in replay. It's share again. So in the doubt, I will say let's be more mainstream as possible. If you know that it's a journalist that will ask you precise question because it's scientist journalist, you can be really on your comfortable with your words, with your technical background. But in the doubt, it's better to focus on mainstream thing and try to explain it in a clear way.
Thank you.
So there is another hand raised.
And by the way, sorry, but you can always ask a journalist if it's during a forum. He will not be surprised if you ask him. Sorry, for of course, for which media are you working? Which kind of documentary? It's okay with the journalist.
Okay, so Mariana has a question.
Yeah, it kind of joins the question Arthur just wrote in the chat as well. But I had a question when in terms of like subjects that are really touchy, how is there a way to like escape a question or a technique to like just not obviously pretend you didn't hear, but I don't know, an example would be about offshore renewable energy, which is really touchy in France currently, like or if they say that picking up waste on beaches is like something that a lot of people do and it's not enough. Like, how do you try? Obviously it works on your confidence and personal person that you are, but I mean, is there a way to kind of escape when you know the journalist is looking for something and you don't want to kind of give it to them? Is there a way to?
Yeah, there is thanks for your question. There is always a way, in sense of as I said before, the journalist will not stop his interview because you are not answering his question. It's like it's not in a banal conversation. So he will continue. But if it's something that, of course, he wants to go deep into, and if he's not letting you after his question, you can either you clear. It depends on the level of the sensibility. If you really don't want to talk about that, if it's like mandatory by your organization, etc., you will have to close the answer by saying I can express on this subject, I'm not able to give information on that because I don't know. You can close the conversation if you feel that there is a way, and I get back to my beside point thing. You can always answer beside the points and quickly go into another subject. Try to open it with an extension of the subject, with to shed a light on another thing quite related to this thing that you don't want to talk too much. But there is a way. It's quite a matter of smartness, of ability, but you have to be sure that you can close a subject or not answering precisely a thing. I mean, you are not like I mean, it's okay. It's okay. It's less okay if you know that the journalist is coming to you for this precise subject. It's quite embarrassing that you are giving him nothing about that. But if it's one subject in other messages, you don't want you to take too much time of it. You can stay the master of the thrill of the interview. It's not the easier thing.
And also to fully answer your question, to make sure you are comfortable during your media interview with your teams, you can prepare some question answer on particularly tricky questions that you know the journalist may ask you. You are not sure it will be mentioned during the interview, but as you said, the subject of offshore installations in France. So you can identify some questions and then prepare with your teams elements of answer on what you are authorized to say, what you are not. So if you are on set and this question is asked, you will be completely prepared.
It's a good point. We always do that for our clients when we prepare with them interview. We always do that. It's like a part of preparation brief we gave to them. There is a little part with sensible question, and we try to anticipate them in sort of that you are you don't seem surprised if it comes.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome.
I have another question that someone sent me by email.
If you have more, I don't know if I can give you our contact, Guillaume, but we will be really pleased to extend this conversation with you guys. Again, we were really glad to be invited, and you are working, you are fighting, you are living in a really useful ecosystem, and it's a pleasure to give you some advice for your incoming interview, and we hope you will have a lot of interview, a lot of TV interview, because it's a message to share to the world.
Yes, of course. I will share your contact with the people in the audience. Just maybe one more question before we end. So you gave us a lot of tips on how to interact with journalists, but do you have some tips to, as a first step, how to get in touch with them, how to make them interested, how to go to the step that you interact with them?
Yeah, well, yeah, sure. It could be the subject of an entire presentation. It's quite our day-to-day job, if I can say that, to chase journalists. For me, there was two important things. The news, of course, the warmer news. I have to say the warmer news you can share with the journalists. More chance you will have to create interest, to create interaction. So no, the first thing is to have the contact. It's not that easy, but you can find quite easily contact of journalists, the redaction. You don't have to be afraid to send it to some media, because if it's a good subject, they will get back in touch. So the quality of the news, if it's actuality, if your association has made a great research, a great achievement in the ocean observation, on an innovation to depollute ocean, I don't know, but so the quality of the news, and of course the way you will present it. So the press release is quite important. The way you pitch. I use the same pitch because for me it's exactly that. It's a pitch. It's the same quality when you pitch a project, when you pitch for a contest, etc. Be clear. Use try to identify something that something that can catch the journalist's attention. I don't know if some politicians are present in a forum that you want to promote. If there is some numbers again of example that can enhance the quality of your news. So the news, and then there is for me the day-to-day relation with the journalist. If you have succeed to have like a super article in a big media, a new subject, try to alimentate a little bit the journalists in a disinterested way. I don't know if you know that there is something happen. If you know that there is this journalist, I don't know, is like an expert of maritime economy, and you know someone, try to make him or her a friend, of course, or at least a regular contact, and not always to share news for yourself and in an interest way. So it's more like a long-term relationship work. But the first thing and the most important one is the way that you will pitch the news. So the quality of your news is again how it strikes to the news flow, to the what happened in the world. If you can relate it, what you are saying, what you are selling, if I can say that, to a challenge, I don't know, like a new politic that will be launched by the commission. Try to link things your news will be maybe the little picture. Try to link it to the big picture to make it like coherent, to make it relevant. So there is some techniques like that, but again, it will take quite a long time. And again, you have a great subject, if I can call that a subject, because I know that you are not working on the same thing, but the ocean is really I think for me, it's a subject that you should create interest in redaction, in newspaper, in TV, because there is a lot to do with innovation. There is a lot to do with, of course, ecological warning. There is a lot to do with geopolitics. So the ocean is quite a good subject, and the identification of the speaker, of the journalist, is important. So you can be helped by expert than us, or you can find maybe some listing with some logiciel online, but the contact is of course important.
Okay, thank you so much. So we are now at the end of the meeting. Thank you everyone for your question, your participation. Thank you so much, Geoffrey and Hynd, for all your previous advices. And that's a wrap.
Thanks to you guys. It was a pleasure.
Thank you for your attention.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Everybody.